Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Health with Dr. Yvette Maseka. This is a podcast that aims to correct myths around health. And today we'll be talking about relationships and mental health. And I'm joined by Dr. Mattia Dengi. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be on the show once
We're
again.
glad to have you. So, Dr. Mattia, why is mental health and relationships, why are they important?
Because relationships really contribute a great part of our mental health. They can be,
Mm-hmm.
positive, healthy relationships can really improve one's mental health because you have a support system, you have
Mm-hmm.
people who you can rely on to just give you that encouragement when you're down. And
Mm-hmm.
when it's the other way around, you have relationships that are toxic. People can really, develop various mental health disorders such as depression, anxiety, loss of esteem.
Mm-hmm.
So, relationships really have a big impact on our mental health. And even in my practice as a therapist, as a doctor, I do find that many of our clients at Dulam Therapy do come with complaints of relationship problems, and
Mm-hmm.
it really contributes to their them not feeling so great at the end of the day.
Okay. So I know when we talk about relationships, most people just think about
Mm-hmm.
their spouses.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it can be relationships with your parents,
Mm-hmm.
relationship with your
Mm-hmm.
siblings, and, everyone around you. So,
Yeah.
how do these relationships impact
Mm-hmm.
our mental health?
Yeah, it really is a dynamic field of relationships. It can be
Mm-hmm.
with parents, siblings, children, partners.
Mm-hmm.
So different categories have different impacts. There are people who've come to me seeking for help because they had a very abusive parent, maybe who was, calling them names, who was physically abusing them, and they really are in a place of anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
feeling, not good enough because of the words that the parents spoke to them when they were growing up. So parents really play a major role in giving children their self-esteem. And even around the world, when you look at those people who've succeeded and done great things, they many times can trace back their success to a supportive family and parents. So parents play an important role. When it comes to siblings, I've also had clients who have siblings who have been abusive, who have not been supportive, and they also develop depression and different mental health illnesses. So, having a supportive brother, sister, and even you yourself, if you are a brother to somebody, if you're a sister to somebody, you need to proactively be there for them, because what if they have both of you have a parent who's not, supportive? So you should be there for each other and have each other's back. So all these strata of relationships are so important and impact our mental health.
Okay. Now, you've talked about healthy relationships with your parents and siblings,
Mm-hmm.
but there are some unhealthy
Mm-hmm.
relationships out there, and we hear a lot of these terms on social media.
Mm-hmm.
The relationship was toxic.
Mm-hmm.
My parents are toxic.
Mm-hmm.
You hear a lot about people being narcissists and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot.
Yeah.
What's your take on unhealthy relationships? What is
Mm-hmm.
a relationship that is unhealthy? And what should you
Mm-hmm.
do when you find yourself in a
Mm-hmm.
situation where, it feels like an unhealthy
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
relationship?
true. Yeah, it's very important to know how to navigate such situations because they are really difficult. Because you have maybe you're already in a relationship and you've been with this person for 4 years, 5 years, and you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking, leaving, but they're not very good for your mental health. They are maybe um, toxic. And when we talk about toxicity, a classic example of a toxic relationship is one in which maybe you are in a relationship, let's say for those who are partners, even parents. Sometimes children have parents who are narcissistic. You can have a sibling who's narcissistic. So generally, every person in the world has a personality type, and these personality types are normal. You have those who have avoidant personality types who they are not really socially engaging. You have those who have borderline personality types. You have those who have narcissistic personality types. Narcissistic personality types are those who are mostly self centered, want to be admired, and want to be the center of attention. And in narcissistic relationships, if somebody has an exaggerated narcissistic personality, they'll have
Mm.
what you call narcissistic personality disorder. And in this disorder, somebody will have will exhibit certain signs. For example, you have love bombing. Somebody just if it's in a relationship, they'll show you so much love, make you feel like you are the most amazing person in their world, and that's just to pull you in, to drag you into loving them and admiring
Mhm.
them. And once they've got you in that situation where you think they're just the right partner, then they'll show you their true colors. They'll start criticizing you, making you feel like you're nothing, like you're worthless. They also tend to gaslight you, make you feel like you're whatever is going on is just in your head. Maybe they're unfaithful, but they'll say, no, you're just overthinking it. I was just talking to that person, but yet they knew it themselves that they're up to no good. So a person who is in such a relationship is very toxic because they're being criticized, and there's no empathy from their partner. They just seem to be so cold, but yet they want to have all the attention, and they're not showing that love for the other person. Yeah, so these are some of the things that can make a relationship quite toxic. And
Mhm.
these people sometimes may tend to isolate somebody, want you not to associate with friends, family. They just want your life to revolve around them,
Mhm.
and they'll just manipulate you, want to control your life. And people would then begin to develop things like anxiety, depression, low self-esteem. And without support, this relationship can actually deteriorate to a point where this person just feels like they are not worth it. You look at them, they're losing weight, they're not happy, and they need support from others to just give them that idea that that relationship is toxic. So communication styles really are very bad in these toxic relationships. Somebody's not communicating affectionately, lovingly, but you're always being demeaned and put down, that you're nothing and you will amount to nothing, but that they can do nothing, you can do nothing without them. So that's the type of relation that's quite toxic.
So, what do you do in such a relationship?
hmm Yeah, I can imagine. Can imagine yourself in such a situation,
Yeah.
where you love this person, but you also don't love them. It's like
Yeah.
you're
Like
in
you
a
love
dilemma.
them, but you don't like how they make you feel.
Exactly. So in such situations, somebody needs to be deliberate to just confront that person, tell them about how they feel, that maybe certain behaviors they're exhibiting are not healthy for the
Mhm.
relationship, that they're not being honest about situations. They're always blaming it on them when they also have, something to bear for that particular situation. They're not being responsible. So the narcissist in such a situation, or that toxic person, would need to be confronted and told of their ways, and they need to be willing to change. But unfortunately, some people are just so stuck on their ways. But
Yeah.
therapy helps. Yeah, people
Therapy
can
for
for
who?
the
For the narcissist.
hmm
And that, no, I
and
don't think they're coming.
yeah, it's really hard,
They're
but
not coming because a narcissist will make you feel like
mm-hmm,
you are in the wrong, no
mm-hmm,
matter what they do.
mm-hmm,
You catch them cheating,
uh-huh,
but somehow,
mm-hmm,
somewhere, it will be your fault.
yes, exactly.
So admitting that they are in the wrong and that they
Mm-hmm.
need therapy, I think that takes a lot of time.
Yeah,
And
it
I think
definitely
for
will.
them, it also takes a lot of self awareness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, you're definitely right about that.
I don't see them coming for therapy, but
mm-hmm.
I mean, it would be good if they
Mm-hmm.
did go for therapy.
If
Have
they
you received a narcissist for
uh,
therapy?
well, yes, I have, but it wasn't actually. I could say the person who came for therapy was in a relationship with the narcissist.
Yeah.
Yeah, but narcissistic people who just come and say, okay, I think I have a narcissistic personality disorder, I need help. Okay, maybe sometimes people don't understand it. Maybe they just feel like their relationships are just going from bad to worse, and they're not aware of it. So like narcissistic personality disorder is something which is maybe a medical term, but it's now becoming more mainstream. So
Yeah.
some people might be finding themselves having failed relationships one after the other, and they're not realizing, say, okay, why are people always leaving me? and that sometimes is because they're exhibiting these traits of always criticizing people, making them feel that they are nothing, that they are more important, they need to be admired and adored, yet they don't really show that affection and love for that other person. So such people do come, but rarely. There are fewer, but they do come, who
Mhm.
are just having general relationship problems. And it is now me as a therapist who could tell them to say, okay, maybe in this particular situation, you're showing traits, narcissistic personality traits. You need to be more empathetic, because sometimes these people seem to be so cold, and
So
it
selfish.
it helps when you have both parties. Like, it's a couple, you hear this side of the story, you hear this side of the story, then you can read between the lines, say, okay, I think the problem is from this particular individual who needs to adapt. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
So, do you think that you can change your personality? For example, if you are a narcissist,
Mhm.
are you able to change
Mhm.
and become what, maybe
Mhm.
less narcissistic?
Mhm. Yeah, apparently there studies have shown, under personality studies, that a person's personality is not fixed in stone, but as you grow up, as you have different exposures and experiences,
Mm-hmm.
it can begin to morph into what you think is better and more acceptable in society. It's quite a rigid pattern of behaviors that somebody exhibits, that they're just known for as their character. But with intentionality, with awareness from people who are being affected by that negative trait, these people can get to improve. Like, there's cognitive behavioral therapy, where you challenge certain ideals, which makes them feel maybe they need all the attention. They're the ones whose opinions should be heard. They can be confronted and be, educated, that you need to be more deliberate in your words. Don't criticize people, believe in them. Don't just show them love and just to manipulate them in the end. So they need to really be made aware, because there's lack of self-awareness in such individuals. They feel they don't really know what they're doing. They just want to have their way, and they think everybody's wrong and they're right. So
Yeah.
they really need to be assisted. It's more um if somebody has have maybe nerve problems, and they're
Mm-hmm.
not able to feel, like in diabetes, for example, somebody may have peripheral neuropathy, and they
Mm-hmm.
may not feel if they're stepping on something that is painful or harmful. So for such a person, they're in more danger than somebody who can actually sense that, okay, I'm stepping on something that's dangerous or harmful. So narcissists are not able to sense
Mm-hmm.
that they need help. So they need the most help, because they can't sense. They don't have that sense of, I need help.
I
So.
see. When it comes to resolving conflicts
Mhm.
in these different relationships, how
Mhm.
do you advise people to go about doing that?
Yeah, relationship conflicts are inevitable in
Yeah.
every relationship, and people need to learn to adapt and be able to solve these conflicts amicably, because if you do not solve them amicably, they will actually deteriorate. So some of the principles that must be understood is that for you to solve any conflict, there are outcomes that will eventually be attained. It's either you will win that conflict. Let's say there's a particular situation. A person can either win that conflict,
Mm-hmm.
they can yield, or they can compromise, and that will help them to solve that particular situation. So when it comes to winning a conflict, that means there are certain things that maybe you as Yvette may feel, okay, this is my principle, these are my boundaries, and this is what I feel I want for this relationship. So those boundaries should be set maybe at the beginning of the relationship, so you both know what you want. And if you feel that's a principle that you want to stand on, that maybe you don't want a partner who is abusive to your family or anything like that, that may be a principle that you want to stand on. And
Mm-hmm.
if that person refuses um, to allow you to have that respect for a family, for instance, that means the amicable way of resolving that conflict would be basically the relation might not continue, because that person is not abiding to your principles, because you have certain boundaries that you've set. So you may need to win that conflict. So resolving a conflict does not mean that the relationship will always be perfect. Sometimes you can resolve a conflict and go separate ways, or resolve a conflict and stay together. So when a person wins the particular conflict, it means that their opinion or principle has been maintained, and that person may need to subscribe to that principle. But it's not always that you have to win that argument or win that conflict. Sometimes you need to yield, which is allow the other person to win the conflict, because you both can't win. One person always wins, the other person loses. If you both want to win, you're not going to solve the conflict. So you need to have that compassion. Say, okay, last time I'm the one who had my way about this particular situation. Next time, if it's something which is minor, maybe it's the color of your kitchen, certain things you can let aside. So, okay, the woman has her way. Let's let her choose. Let her pick. Certain things shouldn't be an issue, because you know that love, trust, affection is what really will hold the relationship. So certain times to resolve a conflict, you just need to yield to that other person's wants and needs, so that you can have peace. And of course, there's also compromise. And compromise is also a good way of solving conflict, where both of you decide to meet halfway, to say, okay, maybe you don't see it my way completely, I don't see your way completely, but we can meet halfway. Maybe we can solve it in this particular way where both of us are comfortable. So those are some of the ways in which you can be able to have a resolution to a conflict. But one of the key things amid all these principles is communication. Effective communication is important to resolve conflicts, because when people are, let's say, having a conflict, they're having an argument, for example, there's a lot of communication barriers. Maybe one person is raising their voice, they're shouting, the other person feels, okay, you're shouting, I'm also going to start shouting. So you need to, first of all, reduce the volume in which you're speaking. You need to calm down, try to speak to each other in a very low tone, which is not confrontational. And people should also give each other opportunity to speak. If you have spoken, speak your mind, and when that other person is speaking, give them that opportunity to also speak, air out their views without interrupting. Yeah, and as they speak, you'll be able to hear what they have to say and implement whatsoever they have talked about, and you also implement whatever they've talked about. So listening, active listening, is very important to resolving conflicts.
Okay, so when it comes to relationships, relationships sometimes work, sometimes they end up in someone being heartbroken.
True.
So how should people handle a heartbreak? What's a healthy way of dealing with a disappointment in a relationship, whether it's heartbreak or I don't know, whatever is disappointing? If your partner cheated, if your parents said something maybe that offended you or disappointed you, or they did something, how do
and
you?
unfortunately for parents, you can't really separate them from yourself. They'll always be your parents.
Yeah.
True. Well, that's a question as well before I even answer. Have you ever been heartbroken before?
Yes.
Okay, that's nice. No, that's not nice. But how did you deal with it from your personal experience? Or did you manage to heal?
Hell, no. My biggest heartbreak was my brother dying. So I've learned, or I'm learning, to live with it. I haven't healed. I don't know. I don't think I'll ever heal. But how I dealt with it, I kept myself busy. I started this podcast. I started going to the gym more often. I started school. So I kept myself busy, kept my mind off it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's lovely. Yeah. No, it's a healing process. Yeah. It takes a lifetime. Yeah, but definitely you're getting there. And
Definitely.
so some of the tips for how to deal with disappointments It's first of all, it's very heavy, and certain times the people who once they've been disappointed, they really go for the drastic measures, most drastic measures. I think there was one incident in the media where um, a student from one of these universities was disappointed, and this relationship was like from maybe grade 6 or something.
Yo.
So that particular individual, it was a man. I think it was a lady who was disappointed. She decided to end her life because of that relationship disappointment, which was just so heavy. So when you've been disappointed, you need to first accept, because whenever you go through something, you have those cycles of grieving, where maybe you're going through denial, where you're going through bargaining. Can we have this again? Can you try
Become
to make it work?
angry.
You get angry, but your goal should be to reach a point of acceptance where you accept that, okay, you know, it was good while it lasted. We had our good moments, we had our bad moments. We've tried to work it out, and it has just not worked out. So once you get to accept it and look forward to better things, sometimes we cry so much at a door that is closed, yet there are other doors that are opening
Open.
for us. So
But you
we need
don't like those other doors.
to. I know it's not easy, but we can move on by God's grace. And yeah, time heals all wounds. So you need to accept that situation, and once you've accepted it, you need to be able to also forgive, because they say that forgiveness is to set a prisoner free and to realize that that prisoner was you. So that person who harbors unforgiveness in their heart, who will not even find it easy to move on, because that person keeps hurting them wherever they go. So forgiveness is something that you do every day. You forgive them. You you know, just like Jesus Christ did on the cross. Father, forgive them. But they did not know what they're doing. It's
Yeah.
so hard. But there's another saying that forgiveness is to err is human, to forgive is divine. So definitely you can ask God to help you to, have that heart to forgive, and to give you that peace of mind, to not be that disappointment, and to be not that disappointed. And another important thing is knowing your self-worth. Like sometimes we feel to say that person defines who I am. If they're not there, then I also rather not live. That's a no, that's a point where we never want to reach. Our self-worth, our value is always going to be intact, because we're created in God's image and we have intrinsic value. The other person just complements us. We should not feel that if they move on, then our life can't move on. We can move on, and we'll meet other people. We'll still be happy. Our life isn't over, but we can just be optimistic and have that positive mindset that things will get better, and they will.
Yeah. Reminds me of that saying. It's not really a saying, but what I heard
Mm-hmm.
it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where they say that you have to be happy first.
Mm-hmm.
Do not rely on a relationship or
Mm-hmm.
rely on someone else to make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
It has to start with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to be happy to
Mm-hmm.
share the happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very important that you don't rely on someone else to make you happy, because when
Mm-hmm.
that person disappoints you,
Mm-hmm.
then your source of happiness kind of
Yeah.
goes. But if you're happy
Mm-hmm.
inside and
Mm-hmm.
that person also adds to that happiness,
Mm-hmm.
even when they take away their happiness, you
Mm-hmm.
still have something left.
Yeah. True. And certain disappointments are inevitable. Yeah, maybe relationship breakups can happen, um, but certain disappointments cannot be avoided, like death, for example. If somebody loses a spouse, some people are so heartbroken, you find that maybe the very next month they also die, because of course such bonds are so strong, they're so fulfilling, but we should never reach a point where we feel that that person is our everything,
Mm-hmm.
because they are not God. They will one day also die, and you
True.
also die one day, and they might be heartbroken. So you should always be aware and talk about that one day, I might not be here, you might not be here, but we need to be strong for each other or for the kids and for the rest of our family. Yeah. So
Okay.
other people are just so shocked. I was being told of an instance of a couple that one partner, I think the husband died, so the wife was just in shock the whole time for a month. The family was surprised, though, thinking, why isn't this woman crying? She was just quiet. No one knew what was going through her mind. So the funeral ended. Then the next month, she also died. Yeah. So no one knows exactly what was going through her mind, but it must have been really hard for her, I can imagine.
Yeah, I would imagine. Ish, that's sad. Um, so what are your tips on how to have healthy relationships?
Mm-hmm. Some of the key tips for healthy relationships is number one, communication. Communication cannot be overemphasized because it's the bedrock of relationship success.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at statistics shows that when there's miscommunication, couples, parents, family, children are not communicating well, the relationship deteriorates. So the way people communicate, like I've already mentioned, it should be empathetic communication. It should be non-confrontational. People should not really have outbursts of wrath, because those are the things that cause people to have mental health problems and just want to sometimes people act in very drastic ways. Somebody let's say a child is feeling, my mother shouted at me like that, or my grandmother shouted at me like that. They decide to go end their lives just to fix the parent who maybe didn't speak to them in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so communication is important, empathetic, loving, non-confrontational, and people should not give each other the silent treatment. That happens a lot, even in couples that I talk to. Somebody just don't want to talk, and they are torturing you with their silence. So it's better you talk about issues rather than having to just keep to yourself. And apart from communication, quality time. People should make sure that they're deliberate in spending time with those who they love. Because if you're spending time with everybody else, you start falling in love with everybody else. You need to make time to be with that person who you love, be it your parent, your child, your significant other. You need to create that time. We're all busy, life will become busy, but at the end of the day, the people who are closest to you are the ones who will matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so people need to be deliberate. And affection as well, people need to be able to express their affection. Do things that will make your partner feel loved. And there's a book written by Gary Chapman called The Love Languages. Certain people feel loved in different kinds of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Others, do you know your love languages
I
yourself?
do.
Okay.
My love language is physical touch,
Okay.
and I think words of affirmation as well,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and gifts.
Okay. Wow, that's nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
those three. I've forgotten what the one where.
Acts of self-sacrifice.
Yes, that
Mm-hmm.
one. But not even. Sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I have a combination of all five,
Mm-hmm.
because even acts of service
Mm-hmm.
are my love language. But
Mm-hmm.
mostly, I think number one
Mm-hmm.
is physical touch.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, in fact, I think I saw your display picture on WhatsApp. I think it was you hugging your brother.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get what you mean.
Physical touch is my number one. Then words of affirmation,
Mm-hmm.
and then
So, yeah, quality time. There's also
there's quality time.
quality time and acts of self-sacrifice.
Yeah, all those combination. But number
Okay.
one, physical touch.
Okay, that's nice. For me, my love language is words of affirmation. Yeah, I think that stands out. Apart from that, maybe quality time also makes a difference. Yeah, it also makes me feel
Yeah.
it really is high up there.
I
Physical
actually put
touch.
quality time as number two. So physical touch, quality time,
Mhm.
then words of affirmation.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's nice.
Mm.
True. So people need to, address those love language gaps. Show that person who you love the love, the way they understand that love. If your love language is words of affirmation, your partner or your parent should know about that, and
Mm-hmm.
they should, shower you with words of affection.
Yes.
Amazing young
Write a
lady.
little poem for you
Mm-hmm.
somewhere.
True. So people should be deliberate to do that which will satisfy that love cup in the other person's life, and you find yourself thriving in your relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think we should also encourage, I know you've talked
Mm-hmm.
about it, but I think
Mm-hmm.
it's very important that we encourage people to listen more,
Mm-hmm.
not just talk.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Someone once said there's a reason why we have two
Mm-hmm.
ears and
Mm-hmm.
one mouth.
Yeah.
So you need to listen more and not just
Mm-hmm.
talk all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Listen
That's
to your
very-
kids,
Mm-hmm.
listen to your siblings,
Mm-hmm.
listen to your parents. Because sometimes it's not always parents who are
Mm-hmm.
in the wrong.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could be their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because, of course, kids are also exposed to different
Mm-hmm.
environments. It could be a bad habit
Mm-hmm.
that they picked up from school that they bring home. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's not always the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it can be the kids as well.
Yeah. True. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Important that there's
Very.
listening. Parents listen, children listen. It really can go a long way.
Everyone should listen.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Mm-hmm.
This was a very important conversation,
True.
and I'm looking forward to having more of these conversations.
Yeah.
And people should look out for your magazine.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yes.
Coming around very soon.
Yes.
This
So
very month.
look out for Adulam
Mental Health Magazine.
Mental Health Magazine. I was about to say Adulam Therapy Magazine. Adulam Mental Health Magazine. I had a look at the draft. It has inspiring stories, has people who've gone through these mental health challenges, and they tell you what they went through and how they emerged victorious from those challenges. So it's very inspiring and well done.
Thank you. She also wrote an article for it, so I hope that they can also get to read something.
Yes,
about what you wrote.
I wrote an article on breast cancer. Very simple. Tried to simplify it for everyone because October was the breast cancer awareness month. So yeah, we brought it in commemoration of that month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Okay.
thank you for joining us once more.
Pleasures are mine, and look forward to more.
Yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to invite you for more.
Yeah, sure. It's a pleasure always.
So this was Health with Dr. Yvette Maseka. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.